Welcome back to Plotlines. I'm your host Connor, and last time we talked about RFK Jr. on this program, and today we're talking about Nikki Haley and her utter disaster of a campaign. And here to discuss with me is Thursday. How you doing, Thursday?
I'm great. How you doing, man?
Very good. I mean, just very good that Nikki Haley lost to no one.
Yeah, literally to none of these candidates.
Yeah. I I saw Trevor from Tridentine Brewing tweet out that he hopes none of these candidates get elected and sworn in as the next president of the United States.
That seems like a non-zero possibility, but I feel like none of these candidates would not be super effective on the border. So,
Well, who would none of these candidates have as their VP? That's what I want to know.
um, that's a great question. None of these candidates, who is they have as their VP? I have no idea. That's a hilarious thought. I need to come up with something witty for them to have as their
Well,
VP.
how can there be somebody winning an election that's literally no one?
So the Nevada primary doesn't count for delegates. That's why
Mhm.
it happened. So yeah, the
But
Nevada.
just it's still ridiculous concept to have on a ballot none of the none of the above basically, and that
Yeah,
win.
I don't know. I'm not sure what the purpose of the Nevada primary even is, honestly, because the Nevada caucus is where the delegates come from.
Has it
So
always been like this, or is this a
I
like a
think
Trump
that's the
thing?
way it's always been.
Okay.
But Nikki didn't register for the caucus where delegates are. Like nobody but Trump put their name in the delegates
Are you
for the
sure?
caucus. Yeah.
I thought it was just Trump didn't register for the primary.
No, Nikki didn't put her name in for the caucus because after Trump won New Hampshire, he announced, "Oh, we've just received news that we won Nevada," because Nikki didn't register. Like in his victory speech for New Hampshire, he was like, "We also just won Nevada."
Okay. Well, that's something.
So
Now, I can't imagine Nikki Haley's going to stay in much longer for the South Carolina primary. I mean, other than this whole concept that she might, like, take over, or if Trump gets removed somehow.
I think she is going to win South Carolina.
Really, you
I
think
don't
she'll?
want her to. I think she will.
Okay.
Um, so South Carolina. So the reason New Hampshire was so close is because independents can vote in whichever primary they want. So 60% of Nikki Haley's votes came from voters not registered to a party. Um, so not to from voters not registered to the Republican Party. Um, and exit polling said that about 4% of them came from people who, while not registered to the Democrats, call themselves Democrats.
Hmm.
Um, but South Carolina's primary rules are even looser. That registered Democrats, people registered with either party can vote in either party's primary. And so South Carolina being Nikki Haley's home state, and the fact that the New Hampshire primary was as close as it was with just independents being allowed to vote, makes me think that we will likely have a situation where, um, like, we're likely to have a situation resulting in Nikki Haley winning South Carolina with like 70% of her votes coming from registered Democrats.
Hmm.
So I think the South Carolina primary is going to be really close. And I think that's why she hasn't dropped out. I think she knows she has a shot at South Carolina because of how loose the primary rules are.
My question would be though that the fact that regarding South Carolina and the fact that there more Republicans in South Carolina than Democrats anyways?
Yeah, but I think the Democrat stop Trump impulse is really strong.
What about the lazy impulse? I know that's pretty strong
I don't
for
know.
Americans.
I think the fact that she got something, I did the math. Hold on, I can pull it up because I have a screenshot of the math I did. I did the math. Excuse me. She got, hold on. She got Upwards of 50,000 votes in New Hampshire from unregistered voters, which makes me think that when Democrats can vote in South Carolina, it's going to be even more extreme.
You don't think
And
South Carolina or North or New Hampshire's more, closely put together that
I
that
do. Oh,
uh,
I think so, but I don't
means
think it's going
that
to
more?
matter.
No,
I
okay.
don't think it's going to matter. I don't think I can't find my notes anywhere. Oh well. I had them saved somewhere. I can't find them now. Yeah, I think there's a good chance that she ends up winning South Carolina, or it's like within single digit numbers. Um, and she's going to use that as a auspice to keep going and hope that Trump gets arrested.
Okay. She is waiting for her
Oh,
uh,
here it is. I found it.
opponent to be
She
arrested.
got 50,000 votes from independents. Yeah, she got upwards of 50,000 votes from independents in New Hampshire.
Don't independents usually like if a Republican wins the presidency, doesn't the independents usually have to go vote for Republicans in order for Republicans to win?
Yeah, the independents, like Trump won most of the independents in 2016, and I think he lost them by a small margin in 2020. Um, but things around
Yeah.
that. So I think independence. People talk about the independence as if they're a national block, but I think you should consider them state blocks.
Mhm.
So, like, I think New Hampshire independents are Democrats who are upset about, you know, bad fiscal policy, whereas like Louisiana independents are probably Republicans that are upset about poor union policy. You know what I mean?
Well, what's South Carolina independence?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. But I don't know that independents are as big. I'm more worried about the Democrat vote in the Republican primary because the Democrats are allowed to vote in the Republican primary.
Well, don't isn't the primary at the same time for 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 the Democrats as
Yeah,
well?
but yeah, it is.
Not
But
yeah.
I don't think it matters.
Okay. I mean, I'm
I,
just saying that like there will have to be at least a certain amount of Democrats that vote in the Democratic primary in order to sort of make it legitimate to some degree. Though I guess they don't really care about that sort of
yeah,
thing with the
I don't think
Democratic
they
Party.
appear to care because didn't they? Joe Biden, there was some suspicious things around the New Hampshire Democrat primary because Joe Biden had to be written in
Did he not sign up?
because he didn't
Like,
sign up, and then he was losing to the to some like New Hampshire congressman who was running on the Democrat like primary ticket. He was losing, and then like there was a sudden jump in write-in votes. Um,
suspicious.
so I think that what happened in New Hampshire is that a lot of people who plan to vote for Joe Biden, blue independents, left-leaning independents, voted for Nikki Haley because they thought it was more important. And I wouldn't be surprised if a similar thing happens in South Carolina. But again, it's not just independents that can vote in that primary; it's registered Democrats. So
Yeah. Now, I would say Nikki Haley represents not so much a political threat to the Republican Party, or just not necessarily she's popular enough necessarily, but she represents a threat kind of within sort of the ruling class of politics that basically says, we need to be in every war we can possibly get ourselves into. Um, that basically our foreign policy is most important, that Russia is the biggest problem in the world, and it's our job to basically defeat Russia because they're stuck in this anti-communism mentality uh, from the Cold War.
I think they're stuck in the anti-communism thing from the Cold War. I think something else that's interesting. Maybe we can thank you, Anthony.
I second Anthony.
I think something else we can examine that might be helpful is the British policy prior to World War II was to oppose for hundreds of years prior to World War II. The British foreign policy was just to oppose whoever the strongest power in continental Europe was.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that American policy, because now we're more globalized and America has more influence, I think the American policy is to up, and I don't know if you would ever find anybody saying this explicitly, but I think the American foreign policy is to oppose the strongest power in any given region. Um, so I think we see that in the Middle East with Iran. The American policy is to just oppose Iran. It was to oppose ISIS or the Taliban, whoever was the strongest power in a region. Um, and we saw it in North Africa, with the Libyan things, with the stuff with Libya early on. We saw it in Europe in the 90s with the Clinton bombings of
Serbia, I think.
Serbia. Yeah. Um, and I think now the problem is we see it now, right? Our policy is to oppose China because China is the strongest nation in Asia. We oppose Iran because Iran is the strongest power in the Middle East, and we oppose Russia because Russia is the strongest power in um in Europe. And we're seeing it to some degree with the opposition to Hungary, I think, because Hungary is becoming more powerful as they stop caring about what the EU thinks. Um, and so I think that a large part of Western democratic foreign policies boils down to we oppose whoever has the most power because that threatens our power. So I think you're right to to a very high degree that it is fear of communism, like communism Red Scare levels, still around. But I think part of it that can't be discounted is that the Western democratic nations in NATO and in the European Union and the American empire need to oppose any power which threatens to make the world no longer a monopole of the American empire, the globalist American empire. And Russia and China are the main threats to that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I see that they're not America isn't opposing anybody in Western Europe. They're not opposing France. They're not opposing Germany. They're not opposing Britain. And my understanding of the reason for that is that we are the most powerful in that area. So there's no they are already
They're just
under
puppet states. I
exactly
mean,
they're
let's be
under
honest
our
about it.
influence.
Every country in Western Europe is a puppet state of the globalist American empire. Um, the furthest, you know, and like I really feel for the Ukrainian people and I feel for the Russian people, but let's be honest about let's just talk about the governments in charge of Russia and Ukraine. The government in charge of Ukraine is largely captive to um, American influence, and the government in charge of Russia is not. This is why we sided with Russia. This is why we sided with Ukraine against Russia. And that's nothing to say about, you know, if Russia was justified in invading and if Ukraine is justified in defending itself. I'm just talking about like the reality of the alliance is made is that we are opposing a power who threatens America is opposing a power that threatens America's influence.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
so
that's the real politique. Also, it's one of the reasons why people are freaking out that Tucker Carlson is going to interview Vladimir Putin.
yeah, and it's the same reason that people are still freaking out about Texas, despite the fact that Texas just keeps saying no and the federal government doesn't do anything. The reason the left is so upset about the Texas border thing is because it proves that American power is no longer as ironclad as it used to be, right? Like if Joe Biden can't keep his governors from, you know, if Joe Biden can't make his governors enforce his policy or his governors can't literally by force oppose his policy and he doesn't do anything about it, it proves that the American power structure is broken.
Yeah, for the last probably 30 years, America is more uh, a sort of more worried about what other people think than the reality of the system because
Yeah.
it's been on the decline. In and also one of the things about like Nikki Haley and the neocons, one of the things that people used to think highly of them for, I think, or the reason that neocons became so powerful, whether it be neolibs and neocons, their whole mentality was anti-communism. But I'm not sure that being anti-communist isn't. I'm not sure if that's just a virtue in of itself. Like I don't know if that's a I don't know if we necessarily need that as a political ideology, because if you're anti-communist but you don't want to, start wars around the world, that's a better thing than just being anti-communist and wanting to intervene in everything possible.
Well, I'm gonna say something that's might make some people very angry. I don't think it'll make any of your audience angry, but if this like gets clipped and sent around, people will probably be upset at me about this. I think the American power structure is opposing communism for the wrong reason.
Yes, that's
Um,
kind of, yeah, the
I
main
think the American power structure is opposed to communism for the reasons that for the parts of communism that communism gets right. Um,
okay. That
and I think they are ignoring the parts that it gets wrong. Um, I don't think they care so much about its atheist, like the power, like the reality that it makes people very atheist and it turns communities against each other. They don't care about that. What they do care about is the fact that, in a communist country, you can't do whatever you want with all your money or well, I mean, in reality and practice, we have the same type of thing. But they oppose it because it's anti-capitalist. And in like the worst like it's anti the worst parts of capitalism and they need capitalism to appear as virtuous for the powers for the globalist power structure to keep moving. If that makes sense. And so I think part of why I'm just like so I don't care about opposing communism or doing this, that, or the other thing is because the people who are opposing it for the wrong reasons.
well, yeah,
Um,
well, yeah, when they're opposing communism, they tend to embrace the most negative sides of communism in their
yeah,
attempts to defeat communism.
yeah, yeah,
They're
exactly.
they're very materialistic, just like communism. So, in other words, they're trying to battle communism by just giving people more stuff, and part of that is preventing other people from getting more stuff through keeping communism contained. Though communism doesn't exist really in any dominant way
There
in
is no communist country left.
yeah,
No.
exactly. There's no international communism, but the Marxism which is eating away at the foundations of sort of the liberal countries are basically destroying them from the inside.
Real quick, Haley, her last name is not Haley. Her last name is Randhawa. Her name is Nimrata Randhawa. Um,
She doesn't even get her husband's last name.
is that his last name?
Yeah.
Oh, well, she can have it for that reason. Well, no, she cheated on him. She can't have it. Nah, she doesn't get it. She cheated on him.
Well, she also forced him to change his first name.
Yeah, that's true.
That's while cheating on him. That's kind of
While cheating on him.
that's
Bro's a
one way
simp.
to
Yo,
go with
Catholic simps, get on that. Uh, yeah, no, I think you're right. I think
it.
you're correct. It's
So
about opposition to Russia because they're still stuck in the Cold War because that's the last thing the Republicans did that was significant.
Also, not to mention that Russia just is the boogeyman. Like you need a boogeyman when it comes to the the elite. The elite need a boogeyman to distract people with in order
Yeah.
to make them not think about, oh, how can we actually make the situation better? How can we make our internal situation better? Okay, so they need a boogeyman in order to distract the people elsewhere.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And and so they need to build up the ideas that we're going to be at war with China, we're going to be at war with Russia, we're going to be at war with Iran. I mean, they keep building up. When we're not at a war, they keep building up the possibility that we're going to war. And then when they have an opportunity, they spring into action they're like, yeah, we wanted to go to war with them always.
Yeah, and part of that is that they're never it's a justification for the standing army, I think, which is not a Catholic thing, by the way. Um, to have a standing army is to never be at peace. And the point of politics is to be living well together, and you can't live well together if you're not at peace. So the war machine needs a justification to constantly be ramping up to something because of one, greed, and two, they need a standing army as a threat against the populace.
I mean,
So
they even make this argument when they make arguments about the Second Amendment or whatever, or having rights to have guns or whatever. They always say that, oh, but the military would always defeat people with guns. Like, it can't be about resisting the government. Well, okay, well, you created that standing army.
yeah, and the
Like,
Second Amendment appears to be in opposition to a standing army um, that is not of civilians. The Second Amendment, if you like, all these conservatives read it, right, and they're like, "Oh, it's talking about a militia of." It's like we got to have a militia of, you know, we got to have this militia for, it's talking about it says that we should own guns because the people should be the militia to protect the country, and it's like, okay, but you realize that implies that there shouldn't be a standing army that is
yeah.
only always ready to go to war with somebody else.
Would
Like,
you wouldn't consider a National Guard as a standing army, would you?
I don't think so because I mean,
Okay.
so long as it's made up of civilians, I don't think it would be a huge deal. But like this, like instantly mobilizable and also perpetually mobilized war machine, um, like the Second Amendment appears to like if you really read it, it appears to be assuming that that is not a thing that exists, and that's why people should own guns. Um, and honestly, if you were to like I haven't heard a leftist make this argument, but this is the best argument against the Second Amendment is that because we have a standing army, we no longer need the Second Amendment because the purpose of the Second Amendment is to have armed civilians in case in case we need to defend the country. Um, which is like you could tear that down because you can go, okay, well then maybe like having a perpetually prepared war machine is not a super great thing to have, right? But
Yeah.
a lot of conservatives are like so pro-military and they want to, and I thank military members for their service, but like let's let's be honest, like it doesn't appear to me that the Second Amendment thinks that a standing army exists and the purpose of it is so that the country can defend itself. And if you have a quote unquote conservative movement that is bought into this, like, oh, we have this huge military and that's a good thing so we can defend ourselves, like, well then like let's do some like natural law and some philosophical analysis and say what's the teleology of the Second Amendment then? Because if the teleology, if the purpose of the Amendment is like explicitly for defense against threats, and we have a bureaucratic entity that does that for us, then why do we still need this thing? Like, that's a question that conservatives should be asked, and I don't see any leftists doing it. And it's because once you start going down that road, you realize that part of the purpose of the standing army is that empires had standing armies so that they could use them to put down rebellions.
Well, modern empires more so, but
Well, I mean, I think the
uh,
Roman Empire did it too. The
oh, I
Roman
know.
Empire used
Well,
the standing army to put down rebellions of conquered lands.
I know. I guess I not all old empires did that. I'm not. I wasn't
Right,
thinking
I'm
of.
saying in like when empires have standing armies,
Yes.
it's for conquering new land and for putting down rebellions in conquered lands.
Yeah, and then they basically uh, are tools of maintaining power of whoever, and sometimes they end up choosing who's in power, which is basically sort of where you get to sort of the military industrial complex, which is basically it's part of the decision making of who can be president and who cannot be. They that's why they fund people. I mean, Nikki Haley was on the board of directors of Boeing.
Yeah, exactly. One of the largest military contractors. I think she have ties to um General what's it called?
Hmm?
General it's not General Motion, or is it like
GM.
uh not General Motors,
Hmm?
General Dynamics? Oh, crap. There's one with a really weird name that's one of the oldest ones.
I don't know
I'll
which
have
one
to
you're
look it
talking
up,
about.
sorry. Keep going, sorry.
What was I saying? So she and first of all, she was supposedly wasn't she like bankrupt or something
She
or
was pretty much bankrupt when she left the UN, yeah.
when she left the UN, and then she got this job at Boeing, and now she is running for president. I just think that, you know, also she was very friendly with Trump prior to her running for president. She was his ambassador to the United Nations. And it's interesting because just the mentality she was trying to uh
General Dynamics.
General Dynamics
I think she had some ties to them.
okay, that she was trying to sort of put out there while she was member or the ambassador to the United Nations. She was very much kind of she wanted to be known as she was anti United Nations, like what was going on in the United Nations. Of course, she was doing Trump's work, which makes a lot of sense in that context. But the way she speaks has changed so much from when she was ambassador to now running for president. Now she's, all about uh about about the fact that she's a woman and therefore she's going to do a better job. Is bringing up,
That
you know,
Maneater commercial, oh my gosh.
what was it?
The Maneater commercial?
There was a man-eater commercial?
Hold on. Yeah, yeah.
I try not to watch TV as best I can. Was it on, like,
She made a
YouTube
campaign
too?
commercial called, like, that was to the, um
I just don't understand who she's marketing or why she's in a Republican primary not trying to market to Republicans. That should make everybody suspicious. If somebody's in the Democratic Party marketing to, not campaigning for votes of Democrats, that I'd be confused too. I'd be like, what is this person's motives? What are they actually trying to do? Like, it's not. I doubt Nikki Haley talked like this when she was running for governor of South Carolina.
yeah.
I just
She
don't
just
believe
didn't.
that that's what she did.
I think she's the Republican primary people, the Republican Party, people talk a lot about how the Republican Party has gotten more conservative, and that's somewhat true because Trump has allowed it to become more socially conservative, but it's also there's parts of it that have become more socially liberal because all along it was kind of an alliance between very socially conservative people and very economically liberal people. Um, and so that's kind of why it became what it was, but now the alliance is totally fallen apart, and we don't have a Republican Party that is universally, economically liberal and socially conservative. We have two wings of a Republican Party that are very publicly at war with one another.
And I would say there's actually probably more division even within that nowadays,
Yeah.
especially as social media is so prominent, as like Twitter or as X now is much more free. The divisions are growing, which, there's a good argument to be made for something like um, parliamentary systems in in the way that they create different parties. You can have more parties than just two. In our system, you really can only have two parties because
Yeah,
you
if you're
autom-
gonna have voting, you should have more than 2 parties, but, I mean, let's be
well,
honest, Connor.
but then one of the
Let's
problems with
just not have
that, though,
voting.
one of the problems with like parliamentary systems is it tends to uh, allow for radicals to take power if they can. And that's usually where radicalism
Yeah,
has
what was
taken
that guy's
power.
name? Jeremy, British Prime Minister for the Labour Party.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn, yeah. He
W-
was extremely, like, a extreme liberal, like, Labour Party radical.
Well, the
Um,
Labour Party is a perfect example of that. In British politics, it so you had the what was it, the Whigs, and then the Tories, and then the Liberals took over the left, basically. I mean, they're not very the Tories and the Whigs and the Liberals weren't very, or like I guess the Tories became more Whiggish because they kept losing. So the Liberals took over, and then once the Liberals became unpopular, Labor sprouted out and took over that part. So Labor became much more radical. The Britain moved a lot further left because they could easily switch political parties because the Liberal Party failed to um, garner support.
I mean, Churchill switched parties twice.
Yeah, but Churchill is well, let's just say he's not my favorite person at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I'm not a fan of Churchill. I can't I won't say the word. Churchill, I won't say the word that comes to mind when I think of Churchill, but, Churchill, uh, as,
I'm thinking
head of the
warmonger,
well, I was thinking of a word that started with G, and ended with idle. Churchill literally starved the German civilian populace to death at the end of World War One to get them to elect a government that would sign the Versailles Treaty,
which then
um,
created Hitler.
which then created Hitler. Yes. Great book to read on that, on Churchill, is Churchill, Hitler, and the Unnecessary War by Patrick Buchanan.
I am reading that book right now.
Oh, yeah, that's why. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you get the part that book you read that book, you're, the if more conservatives read that book, the American worship of Churchill would kinda die off rather quickly, I think.
I think if British people read that book, the British worship of Churchill would die off.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody needs to write one similar about Margaret Thatcher too. Um,
Or Reagan.
don't get me started. I mean,
Actually,
Thatcher literally killed a guy for owning a gun, basically. Have you heard this story?
Reagan?
Thatcher did.
Oh, Thatcher did.
Yeah,
Well, I
there was
mean, I didn't know you could own guns and,
so you couldn't, right?
exactly.
But there was a minister of parliament that owned a gun. He got arrested for it. And he went on a starvation strike in prison to protest for the rights of British people to own guns, and Thatcher let him die of starvation in prison. Like, she literally killed a guy for owning a gun.
Bold
So,
move.
yeah.
Yeah, also, I mean, she also was a perfect example of sort of the belief in hyper meritocratic systems. Like she thought that you had to earn everything. Uh and part of that really put a big detrimental effect on Britain because Britain had a long history of nobility. And basically, if you want to get rid of any kind of nobility, then the elites no longer have um, any obligations to the people that they uh, basically rule.
Yeah.
And
Aristocracy is a good
yeah,
thing, and Western liberalism destroyed it.
very true. But also, aristocracy killed itself.
To some degree. I think that Locke and Bentham and Mill inventing the blank slate is and that being adopted is one of the most like biggest killers of the aristocracy.
You know what's interesting? I don't know if this is a truly accurate quote to Saint Gregory the Great, but I from what I understand is all men are created equal comes actually from uh, a poor understanding or a cutoff of Gregory the Great's quote, and it's basically all men are created equal before the fall, and then sin made man unequal, and that's why we need rulers.
That's cool. I wonder if that's true. I hope that's true. I'm gonna have to look that up later. I might start using that.
But apparently, that's the first time that all men are created equal was like was made widely thought, and basically they just all the liberals just took that and bastardized it, basically.
Yeah. Well, there's a significant difference between all men are created equal and all men are the same.
Yeah, but I don't think all men are created equal either.
I mean, they have equal dignity, if that's all I mean by equal.
Yeah, but dignity is not like that's not the idea that most people get, I don't think.
That's
Uh,
fair. Yeah, that's
pe-
fair.
People look at that and say, okay, that means in everything.
Yeah. No,
That
that's fair. That's a good point.
so like I mean I of course every all men have equal dignity, though my understanding is that generally means more uh the baptized, not necessarily exactly the non-baptized, but I could be wrong
No, I
about
think you're
that.
correct. Yeah, I think you're correct.
So, and that's also confusing. So that whole sense of equality, you know, Gregory the Great saying basically, you know, that when you're baptized, you're raised up, of course, but society is so perverse now and so far away from Christian roots that that's not even a part of the conversation. God's no longer part of the conversation except for sound bites, basically.
Yeah, and Vivek saying that he believes in God.
Oh
Which
yeah,
which God, Vivek? Which
well,
God, Vivek?
he annoys me so much because of his talk of the revolution. All he wants is to bring things back to 1776.
Yeah, also I think he's annoying, but I kind of want like he's like my in my top 5 for VP right now.
I mean, he's better. There's no way that Trump's picking him as VP.
Nah, I think it's
He's too
JD Vance
energetic.
actually. I think it's JD Vance.
JD Vance. Which one is he? Governor of what is he?
Senator in Ohio.
Senator.
I think
Ohio.
it
Right.
could be JD Vance.
I thought it was Ohio, but I
I
forgot that he was
think it
senator.
might be JD Vance.
I don't know anything about him.
He's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
What?
he's really good. He gave a really great speech against Schumer and McCarthy's immigration bill recently. Um, and he ran on a very um, I think he had the endorsement of some of the integralist guys. He was at the integralist conference at at Franciscan University of Steubenville a year and a
Wait, I
half ago
thought
now.
we weren't doing integralism.
No, but it's better than look. Look, there are degrees here, and integralism is way better
You are
than
confusing
Republican
me.
rule. There are degrees to they're like it's the whole Fulton Sheen thing with the circle. Like some people have more degrees of correctness than others.
What's the circle thing?
Fulton Sheen, in one of his episodes of his show, gave this example of like all religions have some degree of correctness. He drew a circle and he was like the Catholic Church is the only one with the full circle, but all religions have some degree. They're correct to some degree. Um, so
Okay,
yeah.
interesting. But yeah, Vivek is just not my not. I mean, like, if he would just stop talking about revolution, I'd probably be more on board. Then again, I don't think I could vote for a Hindu. Just
Oh, I
saying.
couldn't vote for a non-Christian. No.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just. So wait, why is he in your top four?
Because I think we need somebody who has an understanding of technology in a high level in the government if we're gonna oppose big tech.
But you're not voting for it.
I wouldn't vote for him for president, but I think he would be a good vice president.
You'd vote for him for VP. I just don't think it's a good sort of. I do think this, like, stopping these symbols from changing. Like not having an erosion of, like, I don't want a first Hindu VP type of thing. You know what I mean? I just
Oh,
think that's a bad sign.
I don't know. I think we are at a point in American politics where we are gonna have to make compromises in the long run, like compromises in the short term to win in the long run. And because the big tech stuff is such a threat right now, I'm willing to compromise at the VP position so that we would have somebody there who understands what actually is happening in the space and who understands the internet well enough to actually make real change in the tech space.
I mean, he could be in the cabinet. I think that would be.
Yeah, if he doesn't get a cabinet position, I'll be shocked. Like
Yeah, I think.
floored.
Yeah, he would have done everything for nothing. I'm pretty sure that's all he was going for.
Yeah, I really hope he gets at the cabinet position at the least, but I think if I had to rank my like who I wanted as VP, I think he'd be in my top 5.
Wait, who's the top 5?
Um, JD Vance I think is probably number 1. Um, I'd put Ted Cruz in there. Um, I'd put Vivek in there. Like I haven't actually done it, but I think he would be in there. I'm trying to think of other people who I would want, who I'd trust. I wouldn't put DeSantis in there because I think he's a traitor. You can't
Yeah.
if you can't trust him, you can't have him as a VP.
I wouldn't want him to be VP because I would rather him be in Florida. But also, he started to do more spicy things after getting out of the election.
There's a Bill Mitchell, the big like DeSantis guy who used to be a big Trump guy, and he was big DeSantis and went full TRS or full TDS. Um, has said that he thinks DeSantis is running a shadow campaign for when Trump gets arrested. And I was like, bro, you need to take your meds. Like take your meds, Bill. Um,
Wait, but wasn't he working for DeSantis?
Bill Mitchell, yeah, he was.
So, but it seems like none of these people actually know what's going on.
DeSantis didn't know what was going on. Do you know? Okay, here's
Well,
a
that's
real
true.
fact. Did you hear this? Do you know why the DeSantis campaign ran out of money?
Uh, I thought it was because Nikki got all his support, all his money. People,
Well, yeah, but do you know why they like what they actually spent the money on?
really dumb internet stuff.
No, they spent more money
No,
on private flights than TV ads because Casey DeSantis refused to fly commercial.
what
He
really?
was refusing to fly commercial, so they ended up spending more money on PJs than on TV ads.
What the heck?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, that's
That-
how poorly managed their campaign was. They spent more money on private jets, chartering private flights than they did on advertisements
Well, no wonder his internet
because his
stuff
wife
also was terrible.
because his wife refused to fly commercial.
Okay, so man of the people, not in the
Maybe
not
DeSantis is, but
okay,
I mean
not woman of the people.
his wife is not.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
also, DeSantis doesn't come off as like a personality.
Well, he doesn't have one.
That's what I'm saying. He
He
doesn't
was a
come off.
Marine. I'm sorry. Look, once again, I really do thank people who serve for their service. But like, when's the last time you met a Marine that was like oozing with personality?
I actually know a Marine with oozing personality, but
Really?
that's
I've
yeah.
never met one. I think they get it beat out of them. I think the
Well,
Marines beat the personality out of you.
he is in the reserves. I don't know if that uh,
I
means
don't know.
more. I don't know, but
He also
anyway.
he also wasn't actually a Marine, he was a JAG, so
Oh, wait, but that
he
wouldn't be a
wasn't a
mer
Marine, he was in the Marine Corps, but he never deployed, he was a lawyer. He had a
Oh,
desk job.
yes, Jag. But I thought Jag was just Navy. I didn't know they had Marine Jags.
He was a Marine lawyer. He was a whatever the equivalent of JAGs in the Marines are, he was a lawyer.
So basically, he was Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he was Tom Cruise, bro.
Yeah, but that's way more interesting. I'm just kidding. If it, I mean,
Hey,
he's
man, if
not.
he can he run well? Look, if DeSantis gets out and starts doing the Tom Cruise run in tennis shoes instead of high heels, I might change my tune on him. That's all I look, just start what am I wrong here? Would you not like reconsider DeSantis for president if he had a really great Tom Cruise run? If he
If
had a
he,
really great Tom Cruise run and started going, I you want the truth? I want the truth.
yeah,
If he
but
started doing that stuff, you wouldn't and like look, here's the thing. Tom Cruise he's a really bad actor. If he started, going full Tom Cruise and became a good actor, you wouldn't spot the wax figure smile so much that like it's terrifying. I'm just saying if he became Tom Cruise, I might vote for him.
when uh when
Also,
a
I mean, if he became Tom Cruise and became a Scientologist, then he could murder people and all the Scientologists would have to like take the fall for it. Just like
yeah,
Tom Cruise. Look,
that's true.
that's a real thing, by the way. That's a
No,
real
yeah,
fact.
I know.
Tom Cruise and what's the guy who wrote Pulp
Uh
Fiction? Quentin Tarantino have or
oh
John
no,
Travolta. John
John
Travolta.
Travolta.
He was in Pulp Fiction. Tom Cruise and John Travolta have what's called moral protection, which means if a member
Yep.
of the Church of Scientology sees them commit some type of like heinous crime, they have to confess to it because they
Have you
think the
been
world will end if Tom Cruise goes to prison.
have you been listening to Leah Remini recently?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay.
I have a very good memory. I remember that from the one episode of the Joe Rogan podcast that has ever been completely scrubbed from the internet, and it's the one with David Miscavige's dad.
What?
Did you not?
Really?
Yeah. So there was an episode of the Joe Rogan show with the CEO of Scientology's dad,
Oh my.
and it's completely scrubbed from the internet. You
That's
can like find it in like you can find little audio clips of it if you go really searching for it.
Are you sure you
Um,
can't there's a like there's a I found a place where you know who Sargon of Akkad is?
yeah.
I
Oh wait, Spotify put it up? Oh, it got wiped from YouTube.
It definitely
It's up
got
on Spotify.
well, everything got wiped from YouTube.
But no, it got wiped from YouTube before like Joe
Sure.
Rogan made his deal.
Now
I didn't think it was any like I had to because I listened to it on YouTube when it came out on YouTube in 2017. And then
send me the link. Send me the link.
I was looking for it in 2020 and it was wiped from the internet. Like you couldn't find it on RSS feeds or anywhere.
Who knew
And so
this
I
would
had to
turn
go
into
find
a Tom Cruise a Scientology stream?
this the last time we streamed it got super off topic, Connor. I'm sorry. I'm autistic and I have ADHD. No,
That
I'm not autistic. I am diagnosed ADHD though.
okay.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat, the
Okay.
private chat. It got wiped. I guess Spotify put it up, probably because Joe threatened to walk if they wouldn't let him put it up. I bet it got wiped from YouTube for Scientology reasons. But this episode was wild. Apparently, David Miscavige tried to kill his own dad at one point.
Sounds
Um,
about right.
yeah, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
The
Well, aside
Scientology episode of the Joe Rogan show with Ron Miscavige. It's not number 947. Ron Miscavige.
it's
MIS
Miscavige, but
oh Miscavige. Miscavige. It's
Miscavige.
so good.
Well, you know his the leader's wife disappeared.
Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard's wife disappeared. Yeah.
No, no, no. The leader of no date. No.
Oh, David's wife disappeared.
Yeah, David's wife disappeared.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought that was Ron. I must have been wrong.
Well,
I bet
maybe
somebody
it
else
could
said
be
to me
both.
like I bet somebody else said the leader, and I just assumed it was L. Ron, and it was David. I bet that's what's happened.
I just hate L. Ron Hubbard because it makes people make bad jokes about Elrond.
Oh, I didn't know. Why did you put that in my brain?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Yeah,
It's because
sorry.
what
Tangent.
it's because that's what I heard when you said L. Ron Hubbard. That's what I
That's true.
heard.
Yeah.
So
L. Ron Hubbard, yeah. There's a copy of most of his books at the local bookstore in the science fiction section. I've thought about buying them a couple times and
well,
putting
yeah,
them on my shelf just for the joke.
when a science fiction author starts a cult, just I don't understand how you could believe that person.
I mean, Mormonism.
Yes, Mormonism. That's you make a good point. But and that's the one thing I'm very proud about Illinois for.
The Nauvoo stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
that's the most pride I have in Illinois. There's
Yeah,
really
I
nothing
mean,
else.
the Nauvoo stuff is the Nauvoo story is crazy. That's another story when I read it, I was like, "This is wild."
Okay, so Nikki Haley.
Yeah, Nikki Haley, sorry. No, I think what she's doing is she's trying to appeal to, um, the awfuls. I think she's trying to appeal to the awfuls.
Those that
Um,
are awful, or who are the
AWFLs,
A-
affluent white female liberals. I think she's
definitely the women.
I think she's trying to appeal to awfuls, affluent white female liberals.
That's so
Um,
great. Awfuls.
I think they have the affluent white woman voting bloc has a sense that immigration is a danger to them and to their families, and to their comfy way of life. They often tend to be NIMBYs, not in my backyard. And I think Nikki Haley's campaign strategy is to appeal to people in that thought range, which tend to be the awfuls, and she's trying to get them to vote for her because she's saying things like, "Oh, we shouldn't have a federal abortion ban, and we need to crack down on illegal immigration." And she's not super anti-gay, and she's not super anti-trans. She just doesn't talk about those issues, but she talks a lot about the economy and who has the most buying power in America. It's the awfuls. I think the demographic that she's actually campaigning to is not Republican voters, but she's trying to get women who generally consider themselves somewhat Republican to vote for her so that she can. I think she thinks that's like the most powerful block because if she can win the primary with that block, she doesn't have to pivot that much, because you hear this all the time, but like the primaries, everybody races to the ends of the extremes and then they try to moderate in the general. And I think Nikki thinks that Trump is so hated that she can not race to the extreme. In fact, she can push to the middle and win the primary. I think she believes that. I don't think she's like as disingenuous as a lot of people seem to think she is. I think she's an idiot, but I just don't think.
You don't think she's disingenuous? I don't think she's really believes in
I think she
anything.
believes in a lot of what she says.
Okay.
Like I think she believes that like I do think she believes that like families should be allowed to transition their children. I think she thinks that gay marriage doesn't harm anybody. I think she thinks that we need to have people in the Middle East. I think she thinks that a federal abortion ban is a violation of freedom. Um, I think it just so happens to be that the people who don't believe those things but know they make them rich are willing to fund her because she believes them.
Are you sure that it's not just the things she's told to say?
No. I mean, I
No.
could be convinced otherwise, but my instinct is that she's like when she speaks, she doesn't speak like someone who is faking. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you can tell
She's
when
cringy.
politicians she's cringy, but she doesn't seem to it doesn't come across as somebody who doesn't believe what they think to me,
Okay.
I guess.
Now, what about the fact that she went on SNL?
Did you see my tweet about that?
No, I didn't. No, I have to go.
It's gonna be super buried because I tweet too much.
What day
I
was
said
it?
it's an it's a great question. It's like hold on, I gotta keep going back. Wow, okay. I said totally not controlled opposition candidate Nimrata Randhawa literally campaigning on SNL. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she's controlled. I think it just proves that she's controlled op.
I don't even. It's uh, opposition to the like Biden. I don't think she's opposition to Biden, to be honest.
She's controlled op for, like she's the Republicans are opposition. I think she's controlled, like, opposition in the case yeah, no, like, controlled opposition is never in reality an actual opposition to the power structures. I think she's, like, meant to make herself seem like she's opposing the power structures, but in reality, she isn't, and this kinda stuff proves it, like, going on SNL.
Yeah, I mean it's just hilarious that she went on. Also, the fact that I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Shane Gillis is going to be hosting SNL.
Yeah. I have a couple comedian friends who know Shane personally.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, and they
Huh?
tell me Shane's a good guy. So, look,
Yeah.
people who I trust tell me that they trust him, and that is
Well, I mean, he got fired from SNL. In some sense, I can't believe he's going back on, or not back on. He never was on, but
there's sorry.
hosting.
There's
But
this clip of him on his podcast, like right after he got canceled from SNL, saying that if he ever got on, he would like unalive himself live.
okay,
And
hold
he
on.
goes and then he goes, "Live from my mouth, this gun." And I was like, "Bro, you gotta stop."
Oh
Like
no.
and, like, now there's, like, a 2% of me that's, like, really worried that Shane Gillis is gonna, like, unalive
Yeah,
in his
no, I
monologue.
don't think he's gonna do that.
I don't think he will,
Um,
but there's a non-zero chance in my brain now.
but he might unalive SNL in the sense of like ripping on them.
I don't
That
do
would
you
be
think they
pretty.
would don't you think they have a dump button? Aren't they gonna approve his monologue
No,
beforehand?
well, okay. Well, Dave Chappelle, the last time he went on, he like performed a fake one for them.
And then did his real one, right?
Yeah.
And his real one was about how Trump is, like, a real neighbor, right?
I don't know. It was like a wasn't it about why people Midwestern people like Trump or something like that?
Yeah, that's what it was, yeah.
Anyway, so like he could do the Dave Chappelle route.
He could. I think he's big enough. Um,
I mean, they basically crawled back to him. Like, who needs SNL right now more? Shane Gillis or sorry, who needs each other more? Sorry, yeah,
who needs
The
the
Shane
other
Gillis,
more, yeah.
yeah, who needs the other more? Shane Gillis or SNL? I don't
I
think
think
it's
Shane
Shane
Gillis
Gillis.
is taking a payday, and SNL is using Shane Gillis coming on SNL after public his cancellation being a very public fact as advertisement to get people to watch.
How many people do you think are gonna watch? Like, I think most people just watch those types of things if something like that happens after the fact. Like it's gonna go, someone's gonna clip it on and put it on X, and that's how
I don't know,
most
that's
people.
true.
I assume most people are gonna watch it through that type of manner.
They're in season 49? Oh, wow, they're in season 49? Why would they not wait till huh.
What do you mean? What?
They're in season 49. It seems like Shane Gillis would be like a season 50 premiere thing, you know what I mean? Like, if I was in charge of marketing at SNL and I was like, "We could get Shane Gillis," and he's willing and he comes back to us and is like, "Yeah, I'm willing to come on, let's put it behind us." I would make that my season 50 opener.
Yeah, but you're smart.
Okay, that's fair. Like, my brain says to me, "This is gonna be huge, everybody's gonna wanna see this. Let's make it our season 50 opener."
I think
Like,
the problem,
marketing 101 to me, I don't
if
know.
if you were in charge of SNL, it would have to be not on television.
Yeah, that's true, it would
Like,
be the FCC would there would be so many FCC fines.
no, what I mean is, I not just that. I mean that, like, people don't watch TV anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, why are you like, if you want this to be a big thing, you're got to put it on some platform that it will actually be a big thing on,
I'm surprised they haven't figured out a way to, like, stream it to, like, YouTube somehow.
or like even Hulu. I'm surprised, I'm surprised they're not doing like that. And you know,
What's NBC? Who does NBC have to deal with?
I
Because Hulu is owned by Disney.
And ABC is Disney.
Yeah, ABC is Disney.
MS what?
They
What
have
is?
it. Fox's TV shows. 20th Century Fox is owned by Disney, so that's on Hulu.
I'm guessing NBC is Comcast. It's my guess.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of which streaming service they would partner with.
Well, I'm saying that's probably why they can't go on a streaming service.
Yeah.
If they're owned by Comcast, which I'm not sure that they are, but if they are,
No,
they're
they're owned
not
by
moving.
General Electric because of 30 Rock, remember? Like, that's a real fact.
Yeah, yeah, yes, but who owns General Electric?
That's so true. Yeah. NBC is owned by Comcast
Yeah.
and General Electric.
Okay, so yeah, they can't
I
even put
don't
it
know
on a
which
streaming
order
service.
that goes in. Which
Um,
order does that go? Like, which owns which?
is it one company technically?
It could be true.
But basically, I mean, if Comcast is linking its internet providing with its TV, like,
So Comcast is owned by General Electric, it looks like.
oh, never mind. Okay, well, okay. I don't know. I don't know who they necessarily have, but anyways, the point is that they're having to try and appease people. Like Nikki Haley seems to be doing kind of the opposite mentality.
Yeah.
She's trying, like, it's kind of funny. SNL has like they have Shane Gillis coming on, and then they just had Nikki Haley on. That is like, and Nikki Haley's strategy is, I'm not going to appease anyone. I'm not going to talk to the people that don't like me. I'm not even going to try and see if they will like me by, not being an insane person. And then SNL is basically like, we need people to watch our show again.
Yeah, I think she's bought into the same ideology that people who run SNL are, though. They just hate Trump and think that if they just hate on Trump enough that it'll
Well,
be
why are
good.
they getting Shane Gillis? That's what I'm trying to say. Why?
Why are they getting Shane Gillis?
Why do that if that's
I think
the
it's just good press. I think it's not good press. I think it's just press. Like, I think it's just the all press is good press mentality.
Yeah, okay. I just don't think that's. I think they would have to make some big decisions, or sorry, their decision making would have had to change. I think for that to happen, for this to happen, I don't think it's just natural that this happens. I think somebody's maybe on the chopping block and they don't want to get fired, so they need bigger numbers. My understanding is that they're near firing Lauren Michaels, who's in charge of SNL.
Really? I didn't know that.
There's talk of Tina Fey taking over, I think. I don't know if that's true, but
Oof. No. It's gonna get worse.
I don't know if it will necessarily get worse entirely. I think Lauren Michaels is pretty bad.
So here's something interesting that Shane Smith said when he was on Pints a couple weeks ago, was that writers' rooms will not hire comedians. They hire college creative writing graduates over comedians.
That's why everything stinks.
Yeah, yeah,
They don't know how to make anything funny.
yeah. They're not actually hiring comedians to write.
Well, I don't know who they're hiring in other genres either to write, and
Like,
I
all
don't
he
think
was
it's.
saying Hollywood writing rooms in general, like, they just don't hire comedians to write.
No, I'm saying not even for. I'm not even talking about comedic movies and stuff like that. I'm talking about even drama. I don't even know who they're hiring either for that.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
they're
fair.
just like, it's all utter garbage. Like,
Yeah.
I can't think of anything recent that has come out that is like, I don't know, that has amazed me
Invincible.
or impressive.
Invincible.
Oh, is that
The show
Amazon?
based on these 2 books, yeah.
What's the
Or
book?
these 3 books. No, the second volume's on my coffee table because I'm reading it. The Invincible graphic novels. They're comic. It's a comic book series.
What's the premise of that?
Um, this like 17-year-old kid whose dad is an alien and his mom is a human gets his powers, and he has a coming of age story, and then it becomes kind of a like interplanetary superhero political like war drama thriller.
So it's actually good?
Oh, the books are phenomenal, and
Well,
the show was good enough that I went and bought like so these are I'm not gonna open it because it's rather violent. Like you see how there's like full like every line there's full color pages. So
okay.
these are compilations of the comic books, and so this is issues 0 through 47,
Mhm,
and then the next one is 48 through like 96, and this one the third one is 96 through 144. So this is
mhm.
a 144 issue comic book series that
Who wrote
they're
it?
making into the same guy who wrote Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Uh Kier Robert Kirkman. Robert Kirkman. So it's phenomenal, and the show is really good too. Part of the reason the show is good is because Kirkman is writing the show as well.
Ah,
Like the showrunner is the guy who wrote the books, and I think they got one of his main like one of the main guys who drew the comics is the head of animation.
well, you just explained why that, by just the fact that they hired the guy who wrote the graphic
And he doesn't
novel.
have it's my understanding that he's not like a practicing writer. He owned a comic book shop and wanted to write his own like comic books, and so he started writing Walking Dead and he started writing Invincible, and now they're both shows.
Well, you hire people that can write. Like, you hire the people
Yeah,
that
you
can what?
exactly, yeah.
You hire people that are successful in something. You need some example of them being successful, but all Hollywood does is hire people with no experience being successful at anything. Mostly because 'cause they're black or something, or they're a woman or whatever. Like, that's basically
Yeah.
if, um, for at, like, Marvel or something, you have to be in that category now.
I'm trying to think. I guess not. I thought that Christopher Tolkien was a consultant on the Lord of the Rings movies, but I guess not. I mean,
No, he no, Christopher Tolkien did not. He was not happy the fact that they were making it.
Simon Tolkien is a consultant on Rings of Power, I think.
Is it what?
Simon Tolkien
Oh,
is
is
is a
what?
consultant on Rings of Power, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's why it's
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
I mean, he's a guy who's written many books, and you know who talks about his books? Nobody.
Nobody. Well, so here's the thing though, like, now that I'm looking at my shelf, I'm thinking about this, like, why was the Princess Bride movie so good?
Why?
Because the same guy who wrote the book wrote the script.
Well, why was Man for All Seasons so good?
Because the same guy who wrote the play wrote the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Oh,
the best visual media in movies and TV is people who write good literature, taking their good literature and making it good. I mean, like, not to go full, like, who the guy who played Darth Maul in the Clone Wars,
yeah. What's his face?
Sam,
Sam. Yeah.
oh, shit. Sam Witter. Sam
Whitwer.
Witwer,
Yeah.
who also played, Starkiller in The
He
Force
yeah.
Unleashed.
He physically was Starkiller.
He was Starkiller in The Force Unleashed. Not to go full Sam Witwer, but, like, George Lucas was a genius. Like, he was in any other era, he still would have been an internationally renowned, like, literature author. It just so happened that he designated himself to film.
Hmm. Well, it's
Um,
a kind of Mel Gibson thing too.
and Mel Gibson too, yeah. So I think part of the reason a lot of media sucks is because we're having people who aren't good storytellers tell visual stories.
That's
Like,
because
they're not
most
good
like
storytellers, they're just like, you still need to
no.
be a good storyteller. If you wouldn't be a good novelist, you're not gonna be a good showrunner on a TV show.
I do think you don't like there are elements of novel writing that you probably wouldn't necessarily need to be able to be good at. I mean, I guess if you put your life's work into novel writing, like if you took the amount of time that a good novelist put into making novels, then that person probably could be capable, but I doubt if even if you picked, a good director or a good writer or whatever, uh put them and they never written a novel. I don't know if they'd write a good novel right away.
No, but I'm saying if you took away, like, the modern visual media of, like, film and
Mhm,
TV and put these people in, like, 1700s, right? Like, they would write, or, like, the early 1900s, they would, and, like, they were creatives, right? Or and storytellers, they would become good novelists. They
mhm.
just so happen to be becoming good filmmakers and TV show writers or good showrunners. Like Christopher Nolan might not be if you were to write a novel right now, it'd probably be crap. But if Christopher Nolan designated his entire life in the early 1900s to writing and storytelling, he would have written novels that we'd still be talking about.
Or if he did or if he dedicated his life today to that too, he probably
Yeah,
did
yeah,
too.
that's what I'm saying. Like, if
Yeah.
I think you have to have people. I think are we don't tell good stories anymore. We don't tell stories worth, like, we don't tell stories worth reading, stories worth knowing anymore.
Well, there's also a mindset where you have to have certain elements that like is
Exactly, yeah.
mandatory in a story these days, and those mandates are not people that are creative do not want to follow those mandates because I mean that's what happens with a mandate. Like I mean that everybody's doing it, so anybody who's actually got any creative thought process isn't going to want to do the thing that's always in their face
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly
because
correct.
that
Sorry, I
require
was trying to look for other examples on the shelf.
well yeah so but what are we missing in politicians?
I don't think they're good storytellers.
Okay. Oh.
I don't think I mean, they're not good rhetoricians anymore. Like, think about the I can't say that. Um,
What
no, I can't say it. I
oh
cannot say that.
you're
I mean,
not
think about the
loud.
rhetoric I mean, not allowed is a strong word. I would I
uh, well,
don't want to.
Eisenhower.
I mean, think about the rhetoric of Eisenhower and Teddy Roosevelt, or the rhetoric of, like, of Lincoln, or, like, the rhetoric of the rhetoricians. Like, politicians used to be, like, incredibly good rhetoricians, you know what I
I
mean?
mean, Roosevelt even made up for being a cripple. He made up
Exactly,
for it
yeah.
with good speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt made up for being absolutely mad, like, insane with I love the guy, one of my favorite presidents ever, but he was
Why?
insane.
Wait, why is FDR one of your favorite
Teddy
presidents?
Roosevelt.
Oh, Teddy. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, Teddy
Wait.
Roosevelt, one of my
I
favorite
mean,
presidents.
impressive, but I don't know if his policies were uh
I mean,
quite good.
I like the Bull Moose stuff. I think most of it's pretty good. I like
Okay.
the whole, like, trying to I mean, the national parks, come on. Come
Yeah, sure.
on, give 'em the national
Fine.
parks, give it to me, you know?
Now everything's a national park.
Yeah,
I'm
sadly.
just kidding. But
I'm gonna
yeah,
get
but
my house
now
declared a national park.
now national parks are basically like sanitized, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much,
So I don't know if
unfortunately.
everything the government touches, at least this government
That's
touches,
true.
turns to crap. So
Yeah, yeah.
well,
No bubbles.
Thursday, I think we should wrap it up there.
Okay.
Um, any final thoughts on the neocons?
Yeah, I don't think they're dying as much as some people think they do. I think this is their last gasp, and I think they have an actual shot. If Trump fails, I think we'll get neocons for the rest of your and I's lifetime. I don't think we'll have real conservatives.
I just can't imagine. Well, hey, I don't think the Republican Party like has any real merits.
Yeah, no, that's completely true,
So
obviously.
I don't. You need the
No,
Republican Party to
don't go back
die.
there. Sorry.
You need the Republican Party to die, at least as it is.
Yes. Yeah, no.
Um,
I think we should just I think we should just not. Let's just call it a wraps on the USA, guys.
Okay,
American experiment tried, failed. Let's just call it. Let's just call it.
so what's next?
Just balkanization, dude. Balkanization.
So states.
Not like just states. There'd probably be some more. Some of the states would merge, but yeah, pretty much.
The Great Lakes states.
The Great Lakes, and then we'd probably have like the Northeast, like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, you know, run by New York, and then you'd have like the South
Sounds
run by
terrible.
Texas, and you'd have the West, you'd have like California as a really small one, and then you'd have like Idaho and the eastern halves of Oregon and Washington with Nevada and probably Montana. I mean,
You'd have a Hoi 4 game.
yeah, literally,
Okay.
unironically.
Yes. Okay. So thank you all for watching. I have Thursday's YouTube channel in the description. Please go check that out. Are you almost to 1,000 subscribers? What are you at?
I'm at like 738, I think.
Okay, go get Thursday to 1,000 subscribers.
There we go. Let's do it.
Do it. Let's go. Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks, Connor.
everyone.
Thanks, Connor.
And God bless. Bye.